Then I got that mixed in my case for that. I love I'm thinking.
You know what?
I know you're playing. I'll be back tomorrow. Are you guys on the same team? Okay. I'm more of like a. Rec plus. You gotta have that. Yeah, remember how weary I was on ladder? Stand on top, ladder on top of the stabilizer. I love it. It's fun.
I wish you would stick around. I wouldn't stick with James.
How's this? I heard about that.
Yeah, he tried to sue our company.
Oh man.
Yeah. Saying he was on his own. He wasn't. He was on his own side.
No way. Not much.
All rise. The Superior Court of the State of Washington in County Kitsap is now in session. The Honorable Melissa Headstreet presiding. Please be seated. All right. Good afternoon. Did I get it turned on? Good afternoon, and welcome to the first graduation of 2020 for the Kitsap County Drug Court. Just a week later than we'd hoped to have it, but you know, we're here. I appreciate your patience with us. We had safety concerns last week, which is why we set it over 1 week. For those of you who are not aware, I am Judge Hemstreet, and I have the honor of running this program with the help of a great team of compliance specialists and treatment coordinators. And I say honor because I get to follow in the footsteps of both Judge Jay Roof, who is here today with us, and Judge Jeanette Dalton in continuing a legacy of treatment, changing lives for our citizens here in Kitsap County. We know that treatment courts are the most successful intervention in our nation's history of assisting people with substance use disorder out of the criminal justice system and into stable and productive lives. You are going to meet 16 of those successful people this afternoon. Before we come to graduation, the team and I have the opportunity to speak with all of our graduates outside of court about their journey through our drug court. The consensus is that this program is hard, which is not surprising to me because anything worth having, like having a stable life back, requires hard work. But I also hear that this program helped many here today make important discoveries about themselves as people, and for some it saved their lives. I will share a little bit of their journey with you today as I call each graduate forward. All of these wonderful people have agreed that today's graduation is just another step on their recovery journey, which will last a lifetime. We have helped them to create a foundation that they will continue to build on in the years to come. I believe that all of our graduates today have learned the tools and made the changes that will allow them to have long, stable, and healthy lives. I'd also like to thank the people that have come to support our graduates today. I appreciate in particular the visit that the graduates had from Sergeant May. Thank you. All right, let's get started. All right. I never say their last names, so I have to have my list because I don't remember all of their last names. So we'll start with Travis Verbold. Murphy. Gail Butenbach. Loretta Ives. Karen Crowdy. Michael Beach. Robert Walters. Raylan Masters. Jessica Duncan. Brian Seah. Benjamin Harrison. And Trevor Haney. And now I would like to welcome one of our former graduates who's here to talk to us today about his journey, Robert Hudson.
I just want to start off by saying that I'm a very shy, quiet person, and this is hard for me to do. That being said, drug court gave me the opportunity and the chance to change my life from a long-time struggle with an addiction to methamphetamines. I feel I owe the whole drug court team so much that when I was asked if I could be the guest speaker, I knew the answer would be yes. How could I say no to a program that helped me save my life? Although my initial response was that I needed some time to think about it, I already knew what I had to do. My name is Robert Hudson. I graduated drug court in 2014. Sorry. It's hard for me to pinpoint or know exactly when my drug use started. Probably in high school with bad decisions and poor choices of friends. I would imagine, like some of us, it started with smoking pot. This mixed with alcohol, acid, and mushrooms became a regular thing throughout high school. After high school, I moved to Spokane and landed a warehouse job, and within a couple of years, I moved up in that company. The partying continued and eventually moved up to harder drugs like cocaine. By this point, I was making and selling crack cocaine to my boss. It wasn't long before I found my one true love, methamphetamine. I tried to hold on to my job and my love for meth as long as I could. Working let me pay for my addiction. By this time, I was smoking meth at work and trying not to get caught. I think my boss knew what was happening, but I was still selling him crack, so how could he fire me for it? I eventually lost my job. I recognized it was from my drug problem. I was starting to see the effects meth would have on my life, but I chose to ignore them. I figured I just needed a change of atmosphere. I decided to move back to Kitsap County to try to get away from the meth world in Spokane. I remember the day I got back here, the front page of the newspaper read something along the lines of the meth epidemic in Kitsap. I thought to myself, well, this didn't work out as well as I thought. Along the way in my addiction, I did learn various trade skills at different jobs, but none of them lasted. They all ended the same. It's hard to think straight when you don't eat and sleep, and your body is full of narcotics. Eventually, I just stopped looking for work and traded it all in for a full-time career on the streets. My addiction led me straight into a life of crime. In my youth, I'd become a monster. I wasn't even myself anymore. My only motivation in life was to get high, and that meant doing whatever it took. What little consciousness I had left inside and the guilt of what I'd become drove me to stay away from my family for about 9 years. And by this, I meant no contact whatsoever. I did not want to do any more scandalous things that I'd already done to them, so I just stayed away. I later found out that my mom had a picture posted in her work asking if anyone had seen me anywhere. I hated what I had become, but I couldn't stop. I just accepted the fact that I would probably never see my family again, but I'd become so heartless and cold it didn't bother me. One of the houses I would hang out at was less than 2 blocks from where my mom worked at every day. Being addicted to a drug is like being a host to a parasite that controls your mind. It takes over completely. My addiction had caused me to totally give up on myself. By the time I was 27 or 28, I remember the sinking feeling that I wouldn't live much longer, and just completely accepting the fact that I would be dead because of my lifestyle by the time I was 30. I think the worst part of this was that it didn't bother me, and it didn't make me change my ways. I'm not here to glorify my addiction or glorify the times I had. I can sit here and tell you the stories about when I had lots of money and drugs and control, but the truth of the matter is I was never in control. The meth was, and it was destroying me. I met my daughter's mother on the streets. All the money I did come across went to my addiction. Food, shelter, cigarettes, hygiene items. To me, all those things were second to meth, and they could be bartered for if needed. At times, this worked out fine. Most of the times, it didn't. When the drugs ran out, so did everything else. This meant I was homeless for periods of times. Being homeless isn't so bad in the summer, but in the winter, it's a whole different story. I've slept in post office lobbies. I've slept in business recycle bins. I've slept in vehicles with dogs to keep warm. But most of the time, I didn't sleep. I would just walk around Kitsap County all night long, aimlessly to keep warm until sunrise. I remember walking so long in the rain and being soaking wet for so long that the whole bottoms of my feet were blisters. It got to the point where I couldn't walk anymore. I've been arrested countless times. I've been chased, tackled, and tased by the police. The Bremerton Police Department, along with all the local judges, knew who I was. I was a frequent guest at the Kitsap County Jail. Whenever I wasn't in jail, I was on the run for new charges or not checking in with probation. My daughter's mother eventually got locked up for something, and while she was in jail, found out she was pregnant. This was good because this kept her sober for the remainder of her sentence. When she was released, she remained sober while I continued to use. By this point, we were living out of the back of a van in somebody's driveway. I was so far gone that I thought it was going to be possible to raise a child in these conditions. As it got closer to when she was going to give birth, she went and contacted my mother because she didn't want our daughter to be born in those conditions. She moved in and stayed with my mom, and I continued to get high on the streets. I couldn't stop. One day, after a long night of not sleeping, I got a message that she was in the hospital and going into labor. I changed my clothes, got on the bus, and headed to Silverdale. I got there too late. I'd missed the delivery of my own daughter. I don't remember much about the hospital visit because all I did was pass out on the chair next to the hospital bed. Got something in my eye. My last use was June 30th, 2012. I got high as usual and went to the store to sell something. It turns out I was meeting an undercover cop. Once I realized what was going on, I tried to run, but ended up getting arrested in the middle of 11th and Callow. Of course, in a foot chase, I dropped a bag of meth in the middle of the streets. I think my turning point was sitting in jail after this. I was getting sick of this lifestyle, sick of the same thing over and over again. It was like Groundhog's Day, every day. Nothing changed, always the same. By this point, I wanted out of this life, but didn't know how or where to even start to ask for help. I remember sitting in jail, sobering up, and all I could think about was my daughter and the guilt of everything I had done. The guilt of what I had become weighed heavy on my chest. I wanted a different way of life. Talking to my lawyer, I'd asked him about drug court. I'd heard about it in jail. He had his doubts and was trying to talk me out of it based on my record. Everyone in jail was telling me I was going to fail and end up in prison. Pretty much no one believed in me, but I believed. I felt it was the right time, and I believed I could do it. I didn't ask for drug court to get out of a sentence. I've spent a lot of time in jail. It was nothing new to me. I didn't ask for drug court to avoid a felony on my record because I have multiple felonies. I chose drug court because I saw it as a way out, an opportunity to get out of that lifestyle. I was sick and tired of living on the run. I was sick and tired of chasing the drug. I was sick and tired of the people. I was sick and tired of going to jail. I wanted out of that lifestyle, but I didn't know how to do it. The only people I knew were drug addicts. I felt there was nowhere for me to go for help. At the time I got sober, I was 31 years old. I realized that I'd spent more than a third of my life completely lost in my addiction, and almost the entirety of my adult life up to that point, I'd been a meth addict. Getting released from jail and not going straight to the drug house was a new experience for me. I'd never done that before. I remember getting out and going straight to see the compliance officer because I didn't want to mess anything up. I'm pretty sure that was the first test. My driver's license had been suspended for years, so in the beginning I spent a lot of time walking and catching the bus. I was still homeless. I was back in contact with my family, but I wasn't allowed to stay at their house, and I don't really blame them for that. I stayed at a men's homeless shelter in Bremerton where I had to be out at 7 in the morning and be gone all day. Because of this, I spent a lot of time in meetings. For as long as I could remember, all I had known was the drug life, and now I was in the same part of town, but avoiding those places, people, places, and things I had known all too well. NA meetings and processing groups started to feel comfortable. I wanted to start a career, so I started going to school and started working on an associate's degree. I never doubted myself during drug court. I always knew I would make it. I wanted this life so bad. I was so sick and tired of the life I'd had for so long. I wasn't going to mess this up. I'd been given an opportunity to change and save my life. I was early to group every day. I went to all my required NA meetings and then some. I never failed a UA. I went to groups early. I went to court early. In processing groups, I was one of the quiet ones because groups felt comfortable. It was safe. It was a safe place where I knew I was surrounded with people exactly like me. Our stories might be a little bit different, but they were exactly the same. When I was in drug court, I went the entire 18 months without sanction. I found it was easier to learn lessons from watching other people's mistakes in court rather than to make my own. For me, phasing up wasn't about being one step closer to being finally done with the program. For me, it was about being one step closer to showing everyone how serious I was about being sober and staying sober. During drug court, my daughter's mother began to use again, so I had to remove her from our house and file a parenting plan. I was also able to get my license back through over 300 hours of community service, all while going to group and school and still only taking the bus. After drug court, I remember sitting in graduation, not nervous because of what was to come after the ceremony. I've always felt comfortable with my sobriety. I was nervous because I had to get up in front of this very crowd. After graduation, I finished my associates and went on to get my bachelor's degree as well. My daughter's mother has not met her requirements of the parenting plan for the last 6 years, and by doing so has chosen not to see her daughter. I went from someone who could not take care of themselves in any way, shape, or form to a full-time single father to an amazing daughter. I've not had any run-ins with the police with the exception of getting pulled over one time. And let me tell you, when you spend 12 years on the run, you grow accustomed to going to jail every time you see those lights in your rearview mirror. But I didn't go to jail, I just got a ticket. Today, I have family and friends in my life that I never thought I would have. Today, I have the trust of people in my life that I never would imagine possible. Thanks to the drug court program, I have over 7 years clean. I'm self-employed and I pay my taxes. I've gotten legal rights restored I never imagined I would have again. I've been fortunate enough to travel to different countries with my daughter, when at one point in my life, I never thought I would leave Bremerton. But of all the things I've accomplished, what I enjoy the most is the basic things in life: cooking, grocery shopping, running errands, working and hanging out with my daughter. Simple mundane tasks bring me joy because those are the things that were impossible for me when I was using. In my addiction and in sobriety, I've lost loved ones. I've lost good friends and acquaintances. I'm sure everyone in this room knows someone who has lost their lives to drugs. If you choose to use again, we all know how it eventually ends. It ends in jail or it ends in death. But I and many others in this room are proof that it doesn't need to end that way. Keep doing what you're doing and hanging out with the right people, and don't be scared to ask for help when you need it, and you will succeed. And for the graduates, on graduation day, my mom said to me, today is the first day of the rest of your life. And it's true. The training wheels are off, and you've worked hard to get to this point. What are you going to do with the rest of your life?
Thank you, Robert, for being willing to share your story with us today. What he doesn't tell you is that he's also been recently elected the president of our newly formed Kitsap County Drug Court Alumni Association. And I want to point out, I see a great number of our alums here today to provide support to the graduates and our current participants. And thank you all for being here. And that includes our most recent Vet Court alum. Thank you as well for being here. Nice job. All right, we're going to get started with what most of you have come to see. So I'm going to start with Travis. Travis, why don't you come on down? That I have learned about Travis is that he loves being outdoors. He likes to swim, hike, sail, and ski. If it's outdoors, he's up for it. That should make one of our alums super happy because I think we're going to do a hike later on in the year. It is a great healthy mindset that he has, and I believe it will help him keep centered in the future. Prior to drug court, Travis told us he was not comfortable in his own skin. He felt terminally unique. Now he has a great support system that includes people from all aspects of his life that help hold him accountable and connected. Travis has been employed at his current job since October of 2018 and enjoys what he's doing. In the future, if he were to make a change, he would either start his own business doing what he's doing now, working on remodeling or drywall work, or maybe pursue a career in civil engineering or construction management and utilize his college degrees. He's made such progress and strides in this program, and I think the sky is the limit for the future. Let's go ahead and talk to his team. We'll start with Janice.
Travis came into drug court after struggling with his addiction on and off his whole life. But he came in ready to work. He had the support of his family, and he was able to do drug court with many successes. Some of them are, he only had one sanction. He got to have regular visits with his son, and he also had steady employment. Travis was always willing to help out his fellow drug court participants, work through problems. He was a mentor. He did a great job. Congratulations, Travis.
You drew the short straw. I said you drew the short straw. So Amy was Travis's counselor, and I had the privilege of working with him in men's group for a number of months. What I can tell you about Travis is that he has always been willing, and not just so much for his own recovery, but willing to help others in theirs. Great job.
So here we are. First of all, I'd like to thank my team. That's a nice picture. We got to come in here. I got to come into this program to get honest with myself. I've lived a long time and made a lot of bad decisions based on my drug use and whatnot. Today, I stand here. Today's just another day. It's Friday. Tomorrow I get to go to work and go to a meeting and do the same things I've been doing the whole time. There's not going to be a whole lot of changes. I'm just grateful to be here. Unfortunately, there was a lot of people that flew in from out of state last week for graduation. So my prayers and thanks go out to them, especially my family. I couldn't do it without them, and my AA family. So thank you to everybody.
In the Kitsap County Superior Court cause number 18-1000519-18, State of Washington versus Travis Matthew Herbal, the state moves to dismiss.
All right, Cody. So what I've learned about Cody is that he is very dedicated to his family and his circle of friends. He's also very active and seems to have boundless energy because he's always doing some activity with his friends or with his family, like clean and silver softball or mini golf. So prior to drug court, Cody tells me that his life was a mess and he knew it, but he just didn't know how to fix it. Now he views himself as an honest person, thriving on completing his goals and building a life for his son and himself. One of those goals is to work toward becoming a homeowner. So he has been working on building his credit as well while he's been in our program. Cody has been employed with Perfection Services since July of 2018. He loves working there and tells me that his boss is a great role model for him, and his coworkers are also a great support in his recovery. Ultimately, Cody plans to join the electricians union and build a lifelong career. Congratulations, Cody.
Okay, Cody. So Cody happens to be one of the youngest people on my caseload, but he also happens to be one of the most responsible. So what I've really appreciated about Cody is how goal-oriented he is, as Judge Hemstreet was saying. And so at every check-in, he would tell me what he was working on, and then by the following check-in, he would tell me how he accomplished those goals, and then he continued to do that throughout the program. So he's accomplished a lot since the beginning. Some of those accomplishments have been 22 months sober and counting. He's got his driver's license, he has his GED, and he is 100% debt-free. So he is
All right, Kim?
So I began working with Cody for treatment. And when we first began working together, his answer for everything is okay or I don't know. I'm like, well, we're gonna have to make some decisions. And I think as long as he wasn't getting in trouble, maybe he thought that that was just enough. And so Cody, he really decided to make a decision to be a father and to be a family member and to be a good employee. Are you the coworkers?
Boss.
Okay, boss, oh, the boss. So I think he finally made a decision to be an active participant on his journey. It wasn't just things that people were telling him he should do, and then he would just follow along obligingly. It's really been a pleasure working with you. The things that you talk about with your family, he's an active member with his family. He respects his family today. He appreciates them and everything that they've given him. So, nice job.
Oh my.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I'd just like to thank my team, my boss, my family, and all the friends I made along the way. I couldn't do it without you. This program has changed my life, and I appreciate it.
In the Kitsap County Superior Court cause number 17-1082457, State of Washington versus Cody Hume, the state moves to dismiss.
If his coworkers know, there is a copy of his photo in here if you need a close-up.
Thank you.
So Antonio has worked very hard to be here today. Everyone's journey through our court is different, and I have seen Antonio work particularly hard to make some significant changes in his way of thinking and in how he deals with others. Before coming into our court, Antonio describes his world as a dark, sad place, where he had no value and avoided getting close to anyone. Now, he knows that he is not alone, and he has learned how to respect himself and the people around him. Today, I think he knows he has value. He has worked at the Cascades at Bremerton for over 2 years, and he's planning on going to trade school to become a lineman and working in some volunteer capacity to help others understand their own value and worth. And I know that he's going to be successful at that. So let's hear from your team.
You're here, Antonio. Antonio came into drug court in 2017. I think that was a really tough year for him. He had to make a lot of changes to the way that he was living his life. He did really well with the accountability of drug court. He maintained his employment, the same place for 2 years, and he has lots of dreams, as the judge said, and goals. The cool thing about Antonio is he gets to walk out of here today with a clean slate going forward. He does not have anything on his adult record. He gets to do whatever he wants. That's the limit, right? Congratulations, Antonio.
Antonio and I worked together throughout the whole, since 2017, and I think probably both of us thought at one point in time or another, maybe he just wasn't going to make it all the way through. Thank you for trusting me. He did some really incredible work. He's done things that I think take a lot of courage. He is a single parent today. And somebody that I think anyone would be proud to call friend, son, brother, uncle, father. Great job.
Well, I get really nervous when there's 3 people in the room, so you know, if I can do it, you guys can too. It was really, really hard for me to do this. I actually came into drug court telling my counselor at inpatient that I think I'm a sociopath because I just didn't want to feel, and I didn't recognize those feelings or emotions or anything like that. That's not the worst one, is it? Yeah. I actually remember that day. I think I was on the run and I had to cut my hair off because I had really long hair. It's been a tough road for me, but you know, I love my life today. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Kitsap County Superior Court cause number 16-1002941, State of Washington versus Antonio de Jesus Guerra Rubio. The state moves to dismiss.
All right, Michelle. So, I believe that Michelle has truly found herself in our program. And what I mean by that is Michelle has figured out who she is and what she wants to do. Sometimes she did this the hard way, but she always appeared to learn from her experiences and oftentimes held herself more accountable than we did. Before coming into the court, she describes her life as barely existing and pathetic. She was sad and lonely. Today, she is genuine, trustworthy, dependable, and an enormous resource for others in her family and her community. Today, she has a large group of family, and those she considers her adopted family and together they share in both the victories and disappointments that life brings. Michelle is really connected to her community. She works with the Port Campbell-Sklallam tribe and has since September of 2018. Today she works with their court services reentry program, giving back to her sober community and helping others in need keep their obligations and reach their own goals. She has discovered that this is her calling and plans to continue to work with this program as it expands, helping others in recovery achieve the life that she has obtained through her own hard work. Congratulations, Michelle.
Michelle came into drug court with a desire to change her life for herself and her daughter. What I've really appreciated about Michelle is she has always stayed true to her word. Even when she was struggling, she was always very straightforward with what she told me. As the judge said, she has a powerful support network and she continues to move forward, reaching her goals. She continues to work with the Port Campbell-Sklallam tribe, and I think it's really cool that she wants to get into drug court and be a probation or compliance or something like that. She's done awesome. Congratulations.
I started working with Michelle about 4 months ago in the program, but I had seen her off and on at treatment. She had a little bit of a setback in May, and what she learned from that is one of the most important things, that reaching out for help is something that we have to do in this program. She talks about coming from an RV with no power, not having anything to do with her daughter, and here she is with full custody of her daughter and living a life of recovery, so congratulations.
I said I wasn't going to cry, but as soon as I walked out, I started crying. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to the drug court program, the Port Campbell-Sklallam Tribe Reentry Program. I exist in my life today because of these things. I have family that support and love me and have been the foundation of my growth, friends who lift me up and empower me to keep me moving forward, a career that allows me to help use my past experiences to help others realize their potential and know that change is possible. So thank you for holding me accountable until I learn to hold myself accountable.
County Superior Court cause number 18-1-0054618, State of Washington versus Michelle Lynn Lamb. The state moves to dismiss.
All right, Brad. So Brad is generally quiet, or I would say a man of few words in court, but I know that he is always there to support or help others in recovery. He does it quietly and without a desire for recognition, which I think is pretty special. He has worked hard to change his outlook on life, and today he approaches life with more positive and productive outlook than he did prior to drug court. Brad currently works at Uptown Auto Body as a body technician. This environment is supportive and holds him accountable. His career goal is to stay in his trade, continuing to learn as he goes along. Currently, he is taking certification courses to be a steel structural technician. Good job, Brad. Let's hear from your team.
Okay, Brad has had a pretty incredible journey in the program. And so for those of you that don't know Brad's beginning, I'm going to share a little bit about it just so you can see how far he really has come. So it was about 2 years ago that Brad was in custody pending termination from the program. He already had returned on a couple bench warrants, got kicked out of a couple inpatient treatment facilities, and sat in custody for about 3 months, and wrote a couple letters to the team that ultimately changed the team's mind and gave him another opportunity. And so he went to inpatient treatment and he came back a completely different person. So the Brad that we know today is responsible. He's really hardworking. He follows rules, even though he doesn't always agree with rules. And he's just done some really hard work. So I hope that the people that are still in the program that are struggling can learn from Brad and can realize that you can reset after setbacks as long as you continue forward and don't give up. So congratulations to Brad.
Ken.
So Brad came to work with me and, he made things lively. Kept us on our toes. Brad's come a long way, and he quietly, as Her Honor had just discussed, he quietly makes a difference. There was something that you had written at one time when you were up for termination prior to working with me. And it was a deeply ingrained belief system that people in authority take things from me and they take away the people I love. And I'm hoping today, Brad, that you can understand that it's not like that. When you do the work, it's not like that. So congratulations.
Well, this has been fun, but all fun things come to an end, and this is been in drug court for plenty long enough time. And I guess if you go with this cliche, if I could do it, you guys can do it. I've been up for termination at least 4 times. Had to write myself out of this. Caught new charges of being in drug court. Right before the last time I went to treatment, the prosecutor offered me a 50-month deal instead of going out to treatment. And you know what? That's when everything changed. So if someone's gonna bet against me, I'll bet for myself. Like that.
Erie Park, cause number 17-1-006511, State of Washington versus Bradley Rose, the state moves to dismiss.
We do hug. Anna.
All right. All right, Paul. So I want to point out something pretty special about Paul. I'm probably taken away from his compliance specialist. But Paul has made it through this program without a single sanction. And this is much harder than it sounds. In fact, when I discussed this with him, he told me that doing that was actually a lot of hard work, but he just always put drug court first. He felt blessed to receive the opportunity to do this program and was going to make sure that he got everything out of it that he could. I would say that he has done that. Before drug court, he had no respect for himself or anyone else. He was homeless and thought he had no future. Today, he has found that he can be happy. He has his family back in his life and a pretty great group of friends that will help him as he continues in his recovery. Paul works 2 jobs right now with Cascade Specialists and Yang's Botanical Garden. Ultimately, he plans to go back to school to become a welder. In fact, I believe that he has already started the process to get school started. That's what he told me he was going to do before graduation. So, all right. Congratulations, Paul. And let's hear from your team.
The thing I can say the absolute most about Paul is that he's committed. And as Judge Hemstreet said, he went through the whole program sanction-free. And his commitment went beyond just getting through the program without getting a sanction, which I'm sure that was a huge part of his intent, not to get in trouble. But he did it because he wanted to change absolutely every area of his life. So whether it was getting sanctions or MRT or finances or his health or work, absolutely every area, he put 100% of his effort in there and followed through. Amazing job.
I'm not Paul's counselor. Amy was Paul's counselor. Amy now works for the quick response team in Mason County, and her plan was to be here and speak for you. And about an hour before graduation, Amy texted me and said that they called her to go out and do a quick response on somebody in the emergency room. So what she said was to tell you that she's very, very proud of you. And I know that everyone has talked about you making it through no sanction. I think it's no secret I've been doing this for a little while. I can count the number of people that have made it through with no sanctions on one hand and not use all the fingers. So good job. Congratulations.
That's my cousin. That's like type of drug court for my new life. Rebecca, one of the biggest support. Kayla, Scott Sturgeon. She was there. Second was Trevor Haney, and my sponsor JD. And for the number one most support I have is Johnson Jaswick and the mom. Thank you.
Cause number 18-10046-218, State of Washington versus Paul Allen Lizama. The state moves to
Go sit down. All right, Gail. So Gail has really changed her entire life. She is a real inspiration to her team and others in this program. When she came into this program, she was homeless. She tells me she had literally lost everything but the clothes on her back. She has learned a lot about herself while working on herself in this program. And today she believes her life is better than it has ever been. While in this program, Gail was able to get her driver's license. And then she went on to get her commercial driver's license, which had been a career goal. She now uses her commercial driver's license and work for Miles Sand and Gravel, where she drives a concrete truck for a living. And I just want to say that I don't think I will ever forget the day that she came into court and told me she had a new job. I think everybody in the room was able to feel her joy, and it was just, for her, I think it was achieving a lot of goals that she had set before her. And that was several months ago, but since then, she has just kept building on those achievements. Congratulations, you have earned this. And let's talk with your team.
Gail has accomplished a lot in drug court. When I was just reviewing her notes before graduation, one of her first counselors, Darcy, actually wrote that Gail participated a lot in group, and she was just great to have in group. Gail maintained that momentum the whole time she was in drug court, setting and reaching new goals. Like the judge said, she got her license and then went on to get her CDL. She has maintained her current job for 8 months, and I did my math before too. So I have that she has 22 months clean.
I have 2 years on Sunday.
2 years on Sunday.
About Gail is that she has reached every single goal that she has set for herself in this program, and you have given yourself a new way to live. Keep doing what you're doing. You're going to do great.
Congratulations. Yeah, it was bad. I mean, literally, like she said, I had nothing, absolutely nothing. I've lost my kids, my family, everything.
I almost lost my life. And I'm very grateful and thankful that drug court allowed me to step in and be a part of this program, because they really, I mean, I did the work, but they paved that path for me to succeed. So I'm very grateful and thankful.
In the Kitsap County Superior Court cause number 17-1003628, State of Washington versus Gail Lynn Butenbach. Statement to dismiss.
Loretta. So, Loretta is generally a positive person to have in court, and she never shies away from responsibility, and is a great support for others in her program. Like Brad, she does it quietly, but I see it happen even in court. Prior to the program, she tells me she was unhappy and without hope. And today, she has repaired relationships with those in her family and is an attentive mother to her children. She has done a lot of work on finding her own inner strengths and motivations while in the program, and I believe loves the person that she has become. She is employed with the Suquamish tribe, helping people manage their health care. She provides outreach for people suffering from mental health and addiction, and she plans to go back to school to get her degree in social work, then use her degree to help better those in need. Loretta, it has been a journey, and I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss everybody, but I'm gonna miss your smiling face. Let's hear from your team.
I think Loretta's had a pretty amazing journey in drug court. I had the privilege of working with her since she first joined drug court. Her counselor, Tony, she probably wished that she was here. Loretta struggled with appointments, stuff like that early on. It was bad. It was real bad. But then she did it. She figured it out, and she did amazing. The other huge thing that she did was learn to set boundaries with people, and I think she does a really good job at doing that. It's so nice to talk to Loretta these days because she's just telling me what she's doing to better herself, and it's just because that's what she wants to do. That's the kind of life that she wants to live. Strong advocate for yourself and your family. I think that's huge. And because of her hard work, she has a great career, job, a safe home for her family, and she's also going back to school. Yeah. Congratulations, Loretta.
So most of you guys know this is a minimum of an 18-month program. I believe I've heard it said a few times that Loretta has been in this program for 36 months. Apparently, you needed to be there for whatever reason, right, to make the changes that you made. And I know in the last 3 months you had something happen and you weren't able to get through that because of what you have learned about yourself in this program. So keep doing what you're doing.
There's a minimum, but the program is going to take as long as it needs to take, right? Right now, I'd like to welcome up the Suquamish elders who have something to present.
I wasn't gonna cry.
I'm crying already.
You're off, Loretta.
her job, her work. We'll always be here to support you.
Thank you.
I'm very proud of Loretta because going through this program, I think she really found herself and she knows what she wants. And she's gonna go for it. Nothing's gonna stop her.
That's right.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Loretta Ives and I'm a Suquamish tribal member. It's been a long journey for me. It's been just about 3 years and it's been a long road, and I've learned a lot of things about myself in this program. And I've always been really stubborn and never liked the sanctions that I got, but I got so many of them and it kind of resonated with me when Dalton would tell me that I don't like to call this a sanction, I like to call it marking your behavior. That kind of made me look at things in a different light when she said that to me, because then I actually looked at the behavior that I was involved in instead of thinking about what I did wrong, you know, like as just seeing a punishment, I would see what I did wrong, where I went wrong. And I have learned a lot about myself in this program. I learned that I need to love myself more. I really want to thank the people that I work with, the Suquamish tribe. I feel like a lot of work environments aren't too lenient when it comes to court and UAs and appointments, and they've been really solid throughout the whole process and very supportive. They've kind of seen my struggles, so you guys mean a lot to me. You know, my friends and my coworkers and my family. My daughter's here today, and if I could teach my daughter one thing, it's that it doesn't matter what you've been through in life, it's about where you're going, and as long as you work hard for where you want to be, that nothing will stop you. But thank you.
Superior Court cause number 17-1001960, State of Washington versus Loretta Lynn Ives. The statements to the
All right, Karen. See, we're taking the shortcut. So, Karen is dedicated to her family and her recovery. She also has a very tight group of friends that she has developed while in the program, who are a great support system for her. I'm looking at one of them behind me. She has accomplished a lot while in our program. Prior to drug court, she was living out of her car and tells us that she honestly didn't care whether she lived or died. Now, her life is different, thank goodness. She has her family back in her life and has so many things to look forward to. Karen is working at Simply House Cleaning, but exploring other options with the union. Ultimately, however, when she's done working on her family, she wants to continue to work on getting her degree in psychology. Ultimately, she wants to be working with people to help them get beyond their addictions, depression, and anxiety. I think that is your calling, so I look forward to seeing that. Let's go ahead and talk to your team.
Karen has made some amazing changes in her life in drug court. When she first came to us, she was a new mom struggling with her addiction. She had a dependency. She didn't have her daughter. She went to long-term inpatient and came back, and the codependency case was closed, and she had her daughter returned home, and everything started to fall into place for Karen. She worked, started school, she established strong sober support network, and she found meaningful activities. Just done so great. Congratulations, Karen.
Thank you.
So when I started working with Karen, one of the things that I loved most about her is that she had a plan A, B, C, D, like just in case you had it all together, you knew what you wanted to do and how you were gonna do it. So just keep doing what you're doing, what you've been doing in this program. Getting your daughter back was a huge deal, I know that, she talked about that a lot. 33 months in this program. I know the delay in graduation wasn't like the biggest deal for you guys, but I know having Dad here is huge for you. So thanks, Dad, for being here. Congratulations.
Oh man. Oh God. Some people know that like this was literally the hardest thing that I've ever had to do in my life. Because on top of losing my daughter and getting into drug court and having family court over my head along with 60 months, I told myself that going to prison was not an option for me. But now, I mean, I can look back and think that's not who I am anymore. You know, I'm a completely different person. Like, I have morals, I have value. You know, can actually say that I love myself today. Yeah, if it wasn't for drug court believing in me, because I didn't believe in myself, you know, and you guys pushed me to, like, you guys were there to show me that I had potential, because I didn't see it in myself. I'm an emotional wreck right now.
It's okay.
But yeah, this was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life, but it was so worth it. And, you know, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So, thank you.
Kitsap County Superior Court, cause number 17-1003016, State of Washington versus Karen Nicole Pratty, State moves to dismiss.
So, Michael is a pleasure to speak to when he comes up in court. While he doesn't always volunteer a lot about himself, he is always willing to hear what his team has to say, and I believe he truly takes any suggestions that are made to him to heart. I believe this because I have seen the changes he has made to improve his recovery. Before drug court, Michael says that his life was miserable. When he was finally arrested on his warrants, he says it was a relief. He had been evicted from his house, but was still hanging out there. He had no power, no food, and no respect for himself or anyone else. He says he was praying for a better life. Today, he tells me that he has all that he was praying for at that time, and that he has earned it through his own hard work. And I agree. I know that he has worked really hard in his recovery to get where he is today, dealing diligently and effectively with some very difficult issues. He is currently employed at Pat Hall Construction, working as a heavy equipment operator and pipe layer and kind of whatever else they need him to do. He has also attended night school while in the program and while he's working full-time to achieve a lifelong goal of getting his commercial driver's license for Class A commercial vehicles. He plans to continue working in his current trade and continue to better himself and hopefully in the future become a foreman. At some point down the road, he tells me he would love to be able to get his own equipment and start his own company. And I can see that happening for Michael. Good job, Michael. Let's go ahead and talk to your team.
Okay, so Michael, when he came into the program, he already had a lot of internal motivation and was ready to change. He just needed a little bit of guidance. So we put some of those boundaries in for him at the very beginning, but over time I watched him be able to internalize everything he was learning in treatment to be able to start making those healthy decisions for himself. And I think that that's been an amazing accomplishment. Some of the other things that I am reflecting on is how hard you worked in the program when you were going to school at night, working and also complying with treatment and the core obligations. So congratulations, Michael.
I think most of the hard work had already been done by the time Michael came to my caseload. There was just some fine tuning to do. Lindsay touched on boundaries, and I think you hear that topic a lot from the graduates. Some of the hardest boundaries to put in place are the ones with family members or loved ones where there were never boundaries in the first place. Those, in fact, are the hardest ones to establish, and they're the hardest ones to maintain. Michael's got that figured out. Good job.
Oh, that's good.
All right. I think that guy owes me money still. Most important thing I gotta say is thank you to my family for always sticking by my side and loving me, you know, even when I didn't really love myself. Probably about a month ago, I was sitting in Scott's office, and out of nowhere, he kind of just asked me, like, what do you want from all this, you know, recovery and drug court? And like, before I could even think about an answer, it just kind of slipped out of my mouth. I said, I just want my family not to have to worry about me anymore. And that's all I get, and I don't do enough.
Kitsap County Superior Court cause number 17-1002851, State of Washington versus Michael Ryan Hughes. State goes to dismiss.
All right, Robert. So, Robert is very focused on his recovery and his continued progress in every aspect of his program. He is very active in the 12-step community and plans to continue to participate in his service work. Before drug court, Robert was unhappy and he was homeless. Today, he is so much happier with his life, and I like this because he tells me he considers himself blessed. And personally, I think those that have had the opportunity to work with Robert are also blessed. Robert is employed by Eisen Creative Enterprises, primarily doing building maintenance and renovation. He is a skilled carpenter, painter, and drywaller, and he plans to join the Carpenters Union and go back to school to study structural engineering. The sky is the limit, Robert. Good job. Let's talk with your team.
So it's been a pleasure to watch Robert grow. So one thing I appreciate about Robert's journey is we always knew that he was very intelligent and insightful, but at the very beginning, He was a little bit impulsive, so he would let those emotions kind of come through, so it was hard to hear what the message was. But now he has the tools to be able to really detach himself and be able to articulate himself so we can hear him, because he has good things to say. So with that, he's able to hold himself accountable and also hold others in the program and in recovery accountable. So I think that that's been pretty incredible. In addition to that, one of his biggest accomplishments is also that he has his license for the first time in 22 years, which is incredible too. So he's accomplished a lot.
So Robert and I are together right from the very beginning. And in the beginning, it was pretty rough. We'll just let it go at that. Here's what I love about Robert. I think that maybe there's this idea that maybe when you come to treatment that we're going to teach you how to not drink and use. And I give them the bad news right on day one. If that's what you're here for, you're in the wrong place. What we do is we learn how to live. And Robert wasn't exactly a willing participant in that skill set when we first started, and he had a lot of work to do. But here's what I can say about Robert. He's very redirectable, and he is willing to try. And that's all it takes, is just to be willing to try. And he was willing to try, and he kept being willing to try until he went through and conquered each and every one of those obstacles that were standing in the way of him living his life successfully today. I'm going to miss you, Yosemite Sam.
Oh boy. Yeah, I can't even tell you when that photo was taken. There's been so many of them. I'd like to thank the whole team for working with me. There's a lot of names here. I've been in drug court for now about 26 months, and the first year was really brutal on me. I had to figure this out and like where I was going in life. And if it wasn't for Scott to really just open the door for me to walk through it, and it just everything presented itself for me. Just real grateful and thankful that the program took me in, and I'm here today, like living proof of this. You know, it works. I had to get really connected in the 12-step community to be here today. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been here today. So, thank you.
County Superior Court, cause number 791-0167418, State of Washington versus Robert Roy Walters Jr. Statements to the stand.
All right, Raylan. So I like to think of Raylan as another one of my quietly determined participants. Since I have been involved with the program, she has been focused on the program and achieving the goals that she sets for herself. Before the program, she was scared and overwhelmed. Her life was truly chaotic. She tells me that life continued to be chaotic for her when she first came into the program, until the day that she realized that she needed and wanted to do this program for herself and not for others. Today, she has rebuilt a great friendship and relationship with her family that she values. She also realizes that she, in fact, has value and continues to make great choices which will further her success. She currently works at Seabag Pizza, but that's just a little holding place because she dreams of becoming a 911 dispatcher. And I understand that after Ms. Dennis is done speaking today, she should be able to pursue that career. But She's a planner, so if that doesn't work out, she plans to attend school for EMT training, and really, she is truly focused in on her long-term success, and she will get there, I have no doubt. So let's talk with her team.
So Raylan has such like infectious positivity. She's constantly smiling and laughing. She's been a really bright spot to meet with over the last year. And I know she had a rocky start, but the woman I got to know over the last year, and the woman I know today, is loyal and persistent. She's been steadily focused on her goals and working really hard to accomplish them. Great job.
Raylan was one of the first individuals that I had the pleasure of ever working with, and she helped me realize who I was as a counselor. She's very willing and engaged to figure out what her life is going to look like following this program. She identifies her goals and she always completes them. You're amazing, and I'm so proud of you. Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
First off, I'd like to thank my team. At some point, I think I worked with every single one of you guys. But I would genuinely like to thank Sheila and Kayla, Ashley and Lauren, and Judge Dalton and Judge Hemstreet. I'd like to thank my boyfriend Joel for being there through this whole thing. You showed me what life is supposed to be like. Thank you for all the support you gave me. Mom and Dad, there are things that I have done that I wish so bad I could take them back. You guys have never turned your back on me, and I probably wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for you. Thank you for showing me tough love. Thank you for all the advice and support you gave me and helping me become the person I am today. I love you both so much. Thank you.
Kitsap County Superior Court Cause number 17-1007968, State of Washington versus Raylan Michelle Masters. State moves to dismiss.
All right, Jessica. So, Jessica, I would say, is one of the most positive people I have ever had the pleasure of knowing. She is always happy. Her attitude lifts up others in our program. She has an amazing support community and is particularly happy to be able to be a part of her children's lives again. When she came into our program, she was making many poor choices and not moving forward in life. While in the program, she realized that she has a large and wonderful support community around her and that it is okay to ask for help when you need it. And she has done just that. Today, she is employed as a union iron worker for Far West Steel Reinforcement. She loves her job and plans to continue building America and working toward becoming a journeyman iron worker. Good job.
Jessica is so inspiring. She's another strong woman that I've had the privilege to work with. When she got into this program, she had spent 9 months in the jail prior, and she had completed MRT in jail, and she was ready to do this. She was ready to change her life, and she held true to that the whole way through. She got right to work. She made connections with her team. She set goals for housing, employment, and then followed through with everything to get where she wanted to be. And that was back working as an iron worker in the union. Today she has 25 months clean, and she's living at home with her family doing what she wants to do. Congratulations.
Let me tell you guys a little bit about Jessica. She has been my panicker, right? When I first started working with her, I think I got, I don't know, voicemails every single day, emails maybe a couple times a day. But she learned that email was the best way to reach me. So 4 a.m., hey, can you call me? You know, but she wasn't panicking just to panic. She was panicking because her life depended on this program, and she wanted to make sure that she did everything that she was supposed to. You have made such progress in your life, and I'm so happy that you get to take your family on a vacation to Hawaii here in April. She's just made the progress, did the work. Congratulations.
So in her defense, I've heard a lot about these 4 a.m. communications, but that's because she's up and on her way to work at that time. We may not be, but she is, so that's when she communicates. Jessica, why don't we?
All right, so I'm just winging it. Oh my God. That was me. This program has been a blessing. The fact that I even got into it is a miracle. So I'm proof that prayers really do work. I'm really grateful to the team for believing in me. Grateful to Barb for giving me a chance to be in the program. Thank you. Thanks for always having my back, Shannon. Thank you everybody for taking the time off work, supporting me. Pastor Siggy for coming to see me every week, that whole 9 months in jail. Thank you, Mrs. Lucas, Sheila. You know, thank you to my family. I love all you guys. Thank you for loving me until I was able to love myself. I really appreciate the fact that I got to do this. And I'm still sticking to my, what I said is I'm not going to let you down. So thank you.
Superior Court cause number 17-1011710, State of Washington versus Jessica Nicole. Statements to dismiss.
Ryan. So, Ryan is a positive influence in our court, working hard toward his goal of long-term recovery. He has a tight-knit family and community around him that are supportive and proud of all the changes that he has been able to make in this program. Before court, Ryan describes life as wild and insane. His actions were ruining not only his own life, but having a negative impact on others as well, including his family. Now, Ryan is a very active member of his family. He tells me that he continues to work on building healthy relationships in his life. And for the first time ever in his life, Ryan is living his life and not running from it. Ryan has experience in working in the construction industry and has recently taken the big step of opening his own business to do construction or remodeling. He showed me the business license last week. He hopes to eventually become part of the Machinists Union and continue to develop in his chosen trade. Congratulations, Ryan.
So Ryan, his first day in drug court was my first day working for drug court. So I really got to see him from the very beginning. And the beginning was very rough. But I got to see how much growth he really made. And I think the most impressive thing for me watching Ryan is to see him slowly detach himself from his old lifestyle and really find a new meaning in his life. In doing so, he's now married. His son now lives with him. He is active in the community and he is strong in his faith. So it's been really impressive to watch Ryan grow.
I think one of the most rewarding but challenging aspects of working with Ryan was deciding what does a male role model look like, because it challenged a lot of old belief systems or thought processes, and you were able to really identify what do you want to be when you grow up. You have a family that depends on you. You have children who are going to look up to you, so what do you want them to see? And you were really able to embrace that. And I think that it's also important for people to know that he's a pretty good guy. Despite his history, despite that reputation, you're a wonderful person. And I would hope that you would continue on down that path. Nice job.
Oh. So yeah, I just want to give a shout out to my team, my counselor, judge, family, my wife, my friends that I made in this drug court thing. I didn't make too many, but the ones I did, they were a good example. So I mean, thank you for giving me this opportunity.
You earned it.
County Superior Court Cause number 17-1007259, State of Washington versus Ryan Paul Seau. State moves to dismiss.
All right, Ben. So Ben is always a joy to have in court, and it has been a pleasure to watch him progress through this program and find his happiness. He is also a very active person, and during softball season, I never knew just how many teams he might be playing on or how many games he played each weekend. Before drug court, he says that he was a risk to himself and those around him. Now everything in his life is different. He has support and respect of his family back, and he is proud of who he is today. One of the things that I loved most about Ben's graduation panel was learning that he keeps only a 24-hour tag on his keys to remind himself that he has only today. He will plan for the future, but he is going to live in the present. He currently works for Clean Frame LLC, building houses. He works with people who are supportive of his recovery and have become another support system for him. He plans to continue working where he is at, earning more opportunities through his hard work and helping others gain a skilled trade. Congratulations, Ben. Good job.
Ben has done an amazing job in drug court. A few of the things that I've seen him accomplish is he got his license, he's had a steady job, and he's really proud of himself because he has a skill set for a lifelong career. He can go right to the top. He got his own home, and he's found a lot of meaningful activities, and he's really connected to the other drug court participants and other people in recovery. The judge mentioned softball, but he's also got bowling, football. He's connected all over. It's really it's cool to hear about. And I made a note about his positivity as well. It's helped him get to where he is today and in this program. Good job, Ben.
firmly have his feet planted into his recovery. You did the work in this program. I wish I would have been able to see it from the beginning, but I get to see where you're at now. So just keep connected in the community, keep doing what you're doing. Congratulations.
Oh my.
Yeah. Can I get a copy of that? I'd like to thank my higher power, you know, for keeping me safe through all that. Whoever took that picture, thank you. Now, you know, there's certain things that always stick with you, and I can remember my first group. We had to do a check-in, and they asked us why we took drug court. And everyone was like, "Oh, I want to be clean and sober. I want to be clean and sober." And I was like, I wanted to get out of jail. And you know, that was true. You know, that's really why I wanted drug court. But I didn't just want to get out of jail. I wanted to never go back to jail. That was my goal. I've done over 12 years in prison. Been to prison 4 times, juvenile several times. You know, Judge Dalton said one time to us, they're going to just dissect an addict's brain. And they're going to find out that they're like some of the smartest people in the world. You know what I mean? I really believe that. But I didn't know how to stay clean and sober. I had no idea. I got out and I would do the same thing over and over and over. I knew what I liked. I knew what substance I liked, what made me feel good. I was smart in that way. But I didn't know what real life was. You know, when I did my panel, Miss Dennis, you know, said that it was really hard for them to get me into drug court. And I got into drug court, and I told her, "Thank you, you changed my life." And she told me, "No, I did." I may have changed my life, but I would not have changed my life without this program, without giving the opportunity to do this program. There's so many people in the background we never see. Like, I see my attorney who got me drug court like every other week. It seems like he doesn't remember my name. I don't remember his name. But he's the one that got me drug court, and her. You know? We never recognized them. We never talked to them. Those people changed my life. You know, they're behind the scenes of people that care.